And for our next look at chemistry, it is all that matters, we're going to take a look at the basics of chemical reactions. Now, the ability of a substance to undergo a specific chemical change is called a chemical property. And during any chemical change, the matter will always change. So here on the left, we have an image of a strip of magnesium and hydrochloric acid. And whenever you put metal in an acid, hydrogen gas will always be released. So we know that for this chemical property, a metal in an acid will produce hydrogen gas. Here we have that same picture we showed in the previous video of the strips of iron rusted, and we know that iron, when exposed to oxygen, especially in the presence of moisture, will form rust. And here on the right we have another test tube, and in this case we're mixing some sodium chloride, which is just salt water, but we're adding to it silver nitrate. And because the chloride, when it mixes with the silver, will not dissolve properly, you get that cloudy appearance, which is called a precipitate. So we know that whenever you add silver nitrate to sodium chloride, because the silver will mix with the chloride, you'll get that cloud. So these are chemical properties, outcomes that we know will happen whenever a substance undergoes a specific chemical change. Now for that example of rust, we have iron mixing with oxygen to form rust. The iron and the oxygen are referred to as the reactants. Those are the things that are reacting, and what is produced is the product, and in this case we're producing rust. And for that example of silver nitrate being added to sodium chloride, a precipitate forms. So silver nitrate and sodium chloride are the reactants, and silver chloride forms the precipitate, and we're left with some sodium nitrate, and those will be the products. So what goes into the reaction are the reactants, and the outcomes of the reaction are the products. Now, when a chemical reaction takes place, there are certain evidences we can look for of those chemical reactions. For instance, when you place Alka-Seltzer in water, you'll always get bubbling and fizzing. So bubbling and fizzing, the formation of gases, is definitely evidence of a chemical reaction. As we just saw with the sodium chloride and the silver nitrate, we're ending up with a precipitate. So the formation of a precipitate is evidence of a chemical reaction. The disappearance of a solid. So if you put a solid in a liquid and it dissolves, it goes away. Dry ice, as it gives off the carbon dioxide gas, that is the disappearance of a solid. So this is evidence of a chemical reaction. A color change, whenever two substances are mixed together and there is a change in color of one or more of the substances, you definitely have a chemical reaction taking place. And the production of heat or the loss of heat during the reaction, making it exothermic when heat is given off, or endothermic when heat is absorbed. So something that it gets warmer or gets hotter during the process, that's exothermic. And something that gets cooler, loses heat, that is endothermic. So here we have chemical reactions and the basic outcomes of reactions to reactants to products and chemical changes that take place and the evidence of that.